Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Mike and the Asylum podcast. Tonight we're going to be doing the first iteration of what we like to call the Insanity Corner, where we go through our lists of like favorite subjects and favorite top 5 lists or such and such with various things.
Yeah, so this episode, we're going to go through like our top 5, and honestly, it's kind of a test run, so our list might change from time to time.
Oh, mine's going to change.
Yeah, and So you'll probably end up emailing us down the road saying, "Hey, wait, you said this was your favorite movie, and now it's this
wrong.
one." So
I made a mistake
because we may have forgotten one or two, because that's what's going to happen. We're flawed, and so also with this Insanity Corner, we might end up just having random talks or something. It's just going to be anything extra that's not a movie thing. You okay, man?
Yep.
All right.
So our first thing we're going to run through is our favorite slasher villains. Not movies, villains.
Villains. So you guys all know the slashers, the great slashers and stuff. So we're going to go through our top 5.
I will happily go first.
Yeah.
Since
So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Norman Bates from Psycho.
Oh, that's a good
The
one.
granddaddy of slashers.
Ooh.
Now, Norman Bates is my number 3. So I do want to, so if anyone else has Norman Bates, I will just go ahead and say he is my number 3.
I will definitely say of all the slashers I know of, he has the best smile.
So, and go ahead and tell a little bit about Norman without giving too much spoilers, and what movie he's from, and what movie he's from.
He's from Psycho. I don't know how to do this without spoilers. He's the manager of the hotel.
Yes.
And okay, if I can say something, the reason why I love Norman Bates is because what?
Go ahead and throw this.
I was going to say people should know.
He's
the killer.
60.
He dresses up as his mom and kills people.
And hint. Slasher. Yep. He wasn't the fucking kid just to keep.
Well, and the thing I like about Norman is that there's just so much going. You can tell there's so much going on within himself that makes him do what he does, and you don't see that all the time with other slashers.
You can see so many internal conversations when he like pretends to hear mother calling or something like that. Like he's playing it all out in his head, a dozen different ways all the time.
It's so unique, and that's why he is my number 3, and probably part of
that would be an honorable mention. That I forgot. I do love Norman Bates. I haven't watched the show though.
I need to watch the show.
Okay. I didn't.
It's most important to be a family man.
So who's your number 5, Liam?
My number 5 is actually a family man as well. He's a Leatherface.
That's my number 1.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Really?
Nice.
I could deal without.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's interesting in the first one. And after part 2, and if it keeps getting worse, sorry.
There's a very, I don't mean to like hijack you.
No,
but
go
there's
ahead.
a very simple reason he's my number 1. Because of like the big popular slashers, he's the only one that scared me as a kid.
Okay.
None of the others
Fair
did.
enough. So what made him come in at number 5? And it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you guys haven't known who Leatherface is.
Well, it's like, he comes in at number 5 because like the first movie's awesome, and like Texas Chainsaw 2 I really like, and then like he just kind of like does the same 2 stuff over and over again. Yeah. Yeah, but man, can he dance?
He can.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
To me, what sticks out about him is the reality of him, because you got like your Freddy Kruegers, your Jasons, who are very supernatural beings, and if we're just going by the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's like a dude that you could just be like, oh, I'm just driving down the country road, oh, my car broke down, oh, I'm gonna go and visit this house and ask for help, oh god, I'm dead now, and on a meat hook. Like, it feels more visceral than the others that I can think of.
Now, my one question, do you guys think he has a very strong personality?
Yes.
You think he has a very, very strong personality?
I think like the strongest thing.
I wish you guys could have seen his face.
But here's my point. If you go in a dark alleyway... if you go in a dark alleyway and some 7-foot tall motherfucker that's as wide as a shit brick house makes that noise and charges at you, are you gonna laugh or are you gonna shit your pants? Exactly.
Just seeing that audio spike.
It's all laugh.
I'm sorry. It was like the loudest laugh ever.
Of noise.
Okay.
I I think the strongest trait is that he's a family man. Really.
Yep, he's a fan. That's all he cares. He cares about putting food on the table.
Oh my god.
Can Freddy say the same?
Yes. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Okay. So my number 5 is.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry.
So my favorite number 5
we'll
on
be
the
back.
slashers.
Haley is dead.
She's just evidently I made the greatest face ever. Okay, so my favorite slasher for number 5 is Candyman. I love Tony Todd.
He was my honorable mention.
Yeah, I love Tony Todd. I get excited to even see him in other horror movies, even as just a guy, you know.
The Sergeant.
Final Destination.
Oh my god, yes.
I got excited, because I saw Final Destination with the kids on Halloween, and I was like, Tony Todd. And then, of course, the remake of the night, and what is it, the Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
The remake was with him. I like that one too.
He has the best voice.
Yes,
it's just so fucking deep. It sounds like a monster.
So, Candyman, of course, the franchise is Candyman. There's only 2. Damn it.
Which is a shame, because that was a really good idea.
It really is
because
great.
the plot of it is pretty much the story of Bloody Mary. It's like, well, mainly, except for he was a slave, fell in love with a white woman.
Just like Bloody Mary.
Yeah, just like Bloody Mary. Killed him, cut off his hand. That's hence why he has a hook for a hand. And then, of course, he haunts you if you say his name 5 times in the mirror.
And I really should have him as an honorable mention. I did not write him down, but he is an honorable mention for me because I think he is great.
Is it safe to say you're hooked on these movies?
So who's your number 5?
Who's your number 5, Haley?
Mine is Pamela Voorhees.
Ooh,
I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
I literally was thinking about her, but I was like, just one movie.
Can I go ahead and just spoil?
Yeah, dude. This is 81 or 80.
So the reason why I chose her was because
She's
went
the
in.
OG.
Yeah, well, I went into she's from Friday the 13th, and I did not expect her to be the killer at all. I was younger when I saw it too, though. I don't know. It just surprised me, and I also being the only woman on this podcast so far, I wanted to put in a woman, and I'm not doing it just because she's a woman. It's also because she's badass, and she does have a lot of personality. Kind of like Norman Bates in a way, kind of the same feel. Like,
Get her, mommy.
Yeah. And she was so creepy, and I thought that it was great. And she has a very specific and strong reason why she's killing, and I can respect that. It's a good story for her.
Can I just say that I love that Friday the 13th is like a retroactive twist movie? Because when it came out, that wasn't a twist. Well, I mean, it was a twist, but it wasn't like it wasn't like because now everyone assumes it's Jason. So when they watch the first one, they're like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" Whereas in the first one, you weren't expecting it to be Jason. So it's funny how that's kind of
of course, like when I was a kid, like I think they had all the way up until like episode or part 7. So I always assumed Jason was going to pop out of the first one, and then when I see it was Mom, well, yeah, the ending.
I
was
love
great.
that scene so much.
Yes, and dude gets me every time.
It does, doesn't it?
It holds up. Before jump scares.
It's because you forget. Like it's like, oh, she's getting away.
And,
oh my god!
Yeah, and it's like the music's playing. You're like, it's the end. Yeah. So you're number 4.
My number 4 is Michael Myers.
Hey, that was actually my number 4 as well.
Michael Myers is my number 2.
It's my number 3.
So
he's made all the list.
Now,
so he's the fucking boogeyman. He's just creepy. You look out the window and you see that silhouette standing there. That's creepy as fuck, my bro.
And sorry. The reason why I like him so much is I feel like all of my choices have very strong personalities. His personality is like he has no personality.
Exactly.
And that's what's great about him is because he's like the complete opposite of having like
what I love about him is only from the first movie and apparently now the remake. I don't know if we want to talk about that.
I love the remake.
Yeah, the remake. Okay, so so I'll just try to lean into this. I like that in the first movie you don't know why he's doing this. There's no reasons. There's no personal connections or anything. It's just a man who's killing people because he can, and you can't do anything about it. And I love that.
Exactly. And when I say Michael Myers is my number 2, I'm only talking about the first the first Halloween, and then the brand new one that just came out. I'm not talking about any of the other ones. I'm just talking about those 2, and that's just me personally.
Yeah, I know that's your personally. I love them all. I love everyone. Even part 6, I defend it.
Because of Paul Rudd.
Yes, I love Paul Rudd. He's hilarious.
He is.
And yes, it does bother me because he is like a very heavy set looking Michael Myers. He looks fatter. Like he's been beefing up. But at the same time,
at least it's
like
not the Rob Zombie ones where he's like
I
8 feet
felt-
tall.
He's like straight mountain man.
I felt with what part 4 and part 5 did to Michael Myers and the shit fest of the whole, like, we had to give him a reason for being so dark. I felt 6 was finally giving us a prequel to why they thought that. And that's why I felt like it was okay. And it was the very last one with Donald Pleasant.
That was so
rest in
good.
place. Rest in peace. So
That's another one where the twist is really good if you don't know, because you watch the first movie and you think, oh, it's like him killing them as an adult, but then no, it's just a wee kid.
yeah. And I do love the remake. Like, it's not one of those ones where it's like, oh, since I like the old ones, the new one's shit. No, I love the new one. The new one is great. If you haven't watched it, go see it.
You know, I think Donald Pleasance is one of the reasons Michael Myers is so good, because he has a really good hype man. Like, every time he's giving, like, a monologue or something, he's like, I met a child with the darkest eyes, the blackest eyes. Yeah. And it's just like, it's creepy just to hear people talk about it.
And I felt like...
the evil is gone.
Yeah, he's... yeah, and I felt Donald Pleasant, like, him as Dr. Loomis, he gave personality.
He builds it.
Yeah, for the personality that Myers doesn't, like, you can't give off, he gives you the backstory to make you see that he does have that personality.
One of my favorite crazy theories that goes on is that Psycho and Halloween's connected. Because the same character that, like, stopped Norman Bates at the end was Samuel Loomis. And so, like, people suspect after that traumatic event, he goes...
of a bitch, I'm never going to look at Psycho again in the same way.
He goes into, like, studying how
one.
people work,
Not
and
the
his
new
first patient, Michael Myers.
What a weird life that guy led.
That would have been so cool.
I like those. Okay, so number 4 for you.
Oh, number...
Unless you want to decide.
like,
did you want to talk more Myers?
Yeah, sure. Like, hell, I even like the Rob Zombie remakes to an extent. Like, I do have a lot of like nitpicks here and there, and like stuff I think was utterly dumb. But like that Michael was like super intense. Like
He was. And
like-
the kill scenes were pretty intense.
It's like,
and I like
dude,
that.
you don't even need the knife. You can just pick someone up and break them.
and like when he does stuff like that, it's like, oh my gosh, like the scene in the bathroom, like when he fights the trucker Dave or whatever his name was.
Oh my
when he
gosh,
just like breaks that bathroom stall.
That's what that's what I love. Like it's overkill.
Yeah.
That's what I love. Like even when he killed that stripper in part 2 where he's just beating her up against the wall, like the glass or whatever, the mirror.
I love
I
the one where it's in the hospital
holy
and he's
crap.
killing the nurse and he's like, stab, and then he waits a second, stab.
Or like when he's running out in the rain and you see like the mask like just getting poured on, and like he just fucking like grabs the axe, hits the guy in like the spine. It's like you could feel that. But yeah, it's just like his whole personality is just he's a wild card, and not in like the yelling come and get me or I'm gonna kill you right now. Like he's just like this threatening presence.
Also, I meant to mention this earlier, but I forgot. Michael Myers is pretty much what started the big pop culture wave of slashers. Like even Jason or Friday the 13th. I shouldn't say Jason because it wasn't Jason at the beginning.
But Friday the 13th.
But Friday the 13th, they pretty much said they stole Carpenter's, like slasher kind of movie. They wanted their own slasher movie. Paramount did. And so they did that, and then of course that gave breath to Freddy Krueger down the road, and then to all the great ones that we keep talking about. So I would say let's go on to number 4.
Thirdly,
Okay.
No, number 4 was Michael.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you already got 4.
Yeah, no.
So my number 4.
All of us were getting that.
And I know I just said this about your Pamela. She's only been in one movie, so it's kind of hard to throw her on a list. But mine's only been in one movie, too, for my number 4. And it was Sam from Trick or Treat.
Hey, that's my honorable mention.
Woo, Sam!
Woo! He's so adorable. He's the
is.
most adorable killer on
Yes.
this list.
Yes.
Well,
Well, let's see. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I love
Sorry, my
Sam. I love the fact that like he's cute, but he's a slasher. And then of course, the way he killed people in Trick or Treat was, pretty awesome. Like with the sucker and
and
stuff like that.
He has such a memorable design, and I love what he represents because I love villains. What?
I was gonna say, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
being a weapon.
I love
use that one.
I love villains that like represent something as a whole, and he is Halloween. He's the spirit of vengeance. He will fuck you up,
and that's another reason why I wanted to make him on this list, because even though I want to keep him to myself, I think he needs to be up there with the greats. Like
I definitely agree.
Yeah. So number 4 for you, Haley.
Mine's actually, I think they go together naturally, but Chucky and Tiffany.
Yeah,
you have to put them together.
It's a married pair.
Yeah, it's a married pair. No, I am not cheating. It's just like
it's like Bonnie and Clyde. You got to throw
Sydney
them together.
and I are a pair. Chucky and Tiffany are a pair. It's just how it goes. So no, I have them as number 4 because Chucky has a very strong personality, and so does Tiffany, and they are hilarious together.
Played by a great actor.
Yeah, I just every year I do watch all the Chuckies, as you guys know. I watched them all in one day this last Halloween, and
in a few more years that might get tough.
I know. I know.
Especially with the remake coming in.
I know.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
you didn't know about it?
I'm a little sad about that.
I told you about this. They are going to make the toy person who built Chucky is going to create him as a demonic toy. Without a soul.
You did tell me that, but no.
So this is kind of like Puppet Master, only it sucks.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that at all.
I'm not
but
big on
when
remakes.
I say Chucky and Tiffany, I'm not just talking about Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. I'm talking about Chucky in all the Child's Plays, and I'm talking about everything after those. Like I like them all. I definitely would say that it went in a total different direction when you get into Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. However, I do think that they're pretty funny.
I think Seed of Chucky I could have done without, but it's whatever.
I
liked Cult of Chucky more than I liked Seed.
I agree.
So.
Yeah, and I love Cult of Chucky, and
I felt that that's where it
the
needed
other
to
one
go.
is called
Curse of Chucky.
Curse of Chucky.
It's Curse then Cult.
Yes.
And I will say Colt and Curse, I felt like they were finally trying to get back to the basics.
Yes.
But at the same time, a lot of people were already like kind of turned off by Chucky because of Seed. I'm still a fan. I love Chucky.
I love how in Cult and Curse, Tiffany is she still a character?
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that because I love Tiffany. And I just,
great.
for me, it's her style. I've always loved her style. I always wish I was just as cool as how she looked. She just is like,
You'll get there.
I love
believe in you.
just don't look as cool as her.
And I will say this, Jennifer Tilly, hot. I love her voice. I love everything she does, even in like movies, even to the voice on Family Guy as Bonnie. I love her. Like I think she pretty much embodied Tiffany. Like that was perfect.
That scene when she turns to the doll and she's dressing herself up to look, and I'm just like, oh my god, like why can't I be like that? Like I just, oh god, she looks so cool.
Yes, I love Chucky is awesome. And Tiffany's awesome.
Yeah, they both are. So,
right,
yeah, that's my number 4.
What's your...
So my number 3 is a little bit out of left field, and it's very much a spoiler. So...
Okay, what is it?
Angela from Sleepaway Camp.
Okay, you can't give away the ending, but just... Yeah, I see how that all is. Yeah.
But,
okay, if you guys haven't seen Sleepaway Camp... Watch it.
It's so good.
It's really good.
Like it was spoiled to me, and then I wanted to see it, and I didn't care.
I had a friend watch it for the first time this year.
What I love 2 things about her. One, that fucking stare she has, when she's just like, no, not that one. But that was the over the top one. I'm talking about the one where she's just like death glaring someone like, and it's very great. Yeah, that. And the other thing is, she's one of the killers you kind of feel sorry for, because she's going through the whole movie and people are being assholes and people are being dicks, and she's had a very awful life up to this point, and you learn that she had an even worse life after you get to the ending. But it's just, you understand why she's doing what she's doing to some extent. You understand why she's the way she is,
and with Angela, like I actually was like, of course, like when I watched it, I knew she was the killer because you brought her up as a slasher. I didn't know why or the whole shock because, of course, I watched that probably when I was like 14 or so. But yeah, it blew my mind.
The shock is so good. If you
but
don't
I
know.
will say. Just like a lot of slashers, you root for the slashers. You love the slashers, and like there's a creepy man trying to molest her. And stuff.
I would say
I was like, kill this motherfucker.
I love that movie, and I love most of the kills. I don't like that she kills a bunch of the kids in the sleeping bags. That one felt forced to me. Like they were trying to make her like more evil than she was.
Like more
like
body count.
The other
to that
kills
movie.
made sense. Yeah, it just felt like they were trying to up the body count with those.
And they probably were.
So
and
yeah,
like at this point,
if you would cut that like 2 minutes of the movie, then it'd be fine.
I think they just wanted to make her like. Well, and they could have also made it where it's like. Like they were trying to throw her, like, oh, it's not her. It's
well, there's
else.
there's also a theory, since Liam brought up theories, she wasn't the only one doing it in Sleepaway Camp. That her brother Ricky actually was like
he survived,
helping her. Yeah,
I don't think so.
That's the thing. It's just a theory. It could go.
Well,
See, that's my favorite thing. The theories.
Not brother. Wait, Ricky was the boy, right?
Oh,
brother.
the cousin.
Oh yeah, cousin.
Yeah, you said brother because brother. He is the brother.
About that. Yep,
the sister died.
Yep.
Yeah, you know.
Spoilers!
Yeah, sorry guys if we spoiled that for you. But even if we spoiled it, it's still a good watch. So watch it.
I was lucky
creepy.
enough. I actually watched it for the first time within the last probably 2 years, so it's very recent for me. I had no idea what the ending was going to be, and I watched and I was just like, oh my god! And like Sydney, it was really funny because we live in a very small space with very thin walls, and so he was in the bedroom, I was in the living room watching the movie, and then the scene happened, and I think he heard me being like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "You got to the scene, right? You did it, right?" And I was like, "Yes, I did!" And yeah, we both had like a really great time. So it's a really really good watch.
So now it's time for Liam's number 3.
Oh hey, it's my number 3, and I like to pick the favorite Ron's favorite janitor, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
So that's my number 1.
That's my number 1. That's my number 1. Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah,
You're not beating Freddy. I'm sorry.
Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my favorite horror movies. Now, when we
Yes.
actually get to like a horror movie list, I don't put that on there because I just didn't want to repeat a lot of stuff. But it is one of my favorites. It's so good.
It's one of those movies that I watch probably like no joking over 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it still never gets old for me.
Yeah, and it's
Never gets
one of
old.
the first horror movies I ever
10 out
watched
of
by
10.
myself, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm an adult now. I can watch this," and so I loved it.
And see, when I first watched it, it was like on USA, so they cut out like a lot of like good parts. But
Same.
but then
Yeah.
like of course, like when back in the day, like we had VHS movie stores in the mall and stuff, so I went in there and bought them and hit them and watched them. And,
He just has such
Yes.
bombastic personality.
Yes.
He's
Yeah,
just
and-
like,
and that's-
look at me, you can't ignore me.
He's a
Yeah.
very dynamic character, and like it helps that he doesn't like he's not as identical to Jason or Michael Myers. What the hell?
I would watch that
Fucking
episode of
show.
Scooby-Doo.
Definitely.
That's God damn it, Rob.
And then
Awesome.
he killed them all.
okay, so back to Freddy.
Yeah, sorry. Ron showed me a very funny Scooby Doo thing. But yeah, it's just Freddy Krueger. He's like, since he's a dynamic slasher, it very much helps like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I'm super glad we have like a slasher.
And just
like
the
this.
idea of it is just so perfect. A killer that gets you in your dreams. Well, what the fuck? You
Yeah.
can't do it. You can't
Well,
fight that.
And my mom, like, because she was probably in her maybe 20s when this came out, and she said that she remembers seeing this, and she was like, it was the scariest thing to her because you're gonna have to go home after the movie and you're gonna have to go to sleep because everyone has to sleep eventually, and that scared the crap out of her.
Yeah, and a couple things I wanted to say about Freddy. He is my favorite slasher of all time. I even have an autograph of Robert Englund.
Woo!
I love Freddy. But my earliest memories of nightmares and horror, it was, I remember when I was probably like 3 or so, 4, 3, something like that. I was real young. And part 2 was just like sort of new, and I remember the bus scene, and I had nightmares about that. Like I kind of snuck in when my uncle was watching it, and so I saw glimpses of it, and of course that really messed with me. But
You're all my children.
But it all set me up for what I would love through my life. And also one thing I will say is when Wes Cravens came up with this character, it was based on a true story that he heard or read in the paper about a boy who had night terrors or something, and the parents kind of coached him back to bed, and when the next morning he never woke up again. So it was like, where something scared you to death in your dreams or got you in your dreams.
Well, and I had heard with that story that they found like a lot of they found like a coffee pot and a lot of like pills to keep him awake and stuff like that. They found that in his room, which is very reminiscent of the movie because that happens a lot. You see a lot of that stuff, so they tried to incorporate that.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie where she's like, haha, surprise coffee machine.
Yes.
And a little side note, they have an awesome 3-hour documentary on the Elm Streets. I think it's like Never Sleep Again or something.
Yeah.
Watch that. Won't be disappointed. But at least watch the movies first, then watch the documentary, or you're going to have spoilers. But all right, so
you're number 3.
And it's weird because my stepdad, he's one of the guys that would always recommend when I started watching Halloween, he was like, "Oh hey, tell you what, watch Halloween 3 now." And then so I went from Halloween to Halloween 3, and then I went to the Rob Zombies and then the sequel. So when it came to Nightmare on Elm Street, it was like, "Oh hey, watch New Nightmare now." So I went from Nightmare on Elm Street to New Nightmare. Now I'm going through.
Oh shit!
Now I'm going through the rest of the series, but
Nice.
I have to say New Nightmare is my favorite one.
I love New Nightmare. New Nightmare is probably my favorite one.
I love the fact, because that one is Freddy invades the actors' lives.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
real,
And
and it brings it back to the scary because the series had been going more comedic up to that point.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the last thing I'll say, when I say that Freddy's my number one, I'm talking about all of them except for the remake.
Yeah.
I just need to make that very clear.
And I will say it till I'm blue in the face. They shouldn't have made him a pedophile. That's what really killed it. I even the actor, they wanted to go dark, fine, great. But they made him a pedophile, and that pissed me off. I even thought, I was trying to hope that they were saying, oh, he was falsely accused, they're going to find out that he wasn't. No. And the dude was in the basement, living like a hermit. And you're trying to tell me that setup was there for 20 plus years. They never removed it. Whatever. Okay, so I regress. Okay,
Number 3.
So my number 3, Michael Myers. I already said it. So I think
my number 3 was Norman Bates. So
going to.
I'm gonna do some reworking as I've been sitting here thinking about this. I said Leatherface was my number 1. I'm gonna move him back down to my number 2, so my number 1 can be its own thing. So your number 2, Liam.
Oh, I'm number 2. Okay, back down. All right. So
circle.
I picked
number 2.
I'm number 2. So I picked Art the Clown from Terrifier.
I've never seen Terrifier.
I have not seen it.
Get on it, guys.
Guys,
Holy
Terrifier
shit.
is so good.
Where can I watch it?
I want you to. It's on Netflix.
It's now on
Oh,
Netflix,
okay.
and I highly recommend it.
Listen.
Okay.
You know how you were talking about you say scarier clowns, they're not scary to you when they make them scary. This one it just has a weird it's eerie.
I'm excited.
And that's
I'm
one of my
excited,
favorite.
too.
That's one of my favorite things about Art the Clown.
And
too.
and one thing I will say about Terrifier, pretty cool death scenes, especially with the saw.
Dude.
That's all I'm saying.
And he has this this big black bag of items he uses.
Yeah,
so it starts the movie with him putting makeup on himself. You don't get to see his actual face until the makeup's on, and then you see him take out all these bloodied items, and he's poking the tips and puts them in.
It's
the
real.
bag.
It's real fair, dude.
He acts like this cartoon character that shouldn't be in the real world.
And
I love things like that.
And he does it in so well.
And technically, Terrifier is a sequel or something, but you can watch it without watching the first one, because the first one, I don't even know where it's at, but I've heard things where it's they released it, it wasn't what they wanted, so they kind of redid it for Terrifier, it works.
Yeah. So it was like the first one was like some anthology film called All Hallows Eve.
Yeah, that's it.
Where it was like this.
Oh, I watched that.
Yeah, where like a kid just keeps getting like mystery VHS tapes, and one of them's from Art the Clown, and like but they changed the actor to it, and I have to say like that was a great idea, because like how Art the Clown looks in this one is so good, and like I want to see more movies with Art the Clown, and that was the thing that made me super happy. This is a new character.
We are literally going to go through probably 2 lists. Just letting you know.
Yeah,
I told you we could talk about this.
I know. I'm just letting you know. So we're going to definitely
Character
be
is like my favorite thing. So
yeah.
Okay,
so like, I'm super intrigued to see if they're going to do anything more.
Yeah,
with Art the Clown.
I really hope they do. I agree with you. That'd be an honorable mention. My number 2 is Jason Voorhees.
That's actually my number 1.
He's great.
Yeah.
What is there to say about Jason that
He's the all-star quarterback.
Yes, he truly is, because
He really is.
He has the best death scenes. Like, my favorite ones with him is like the sleeping bag. He takes a girl, pulls her out, or she's still in the sleeping bag, pulls the sleeping bag out and beats her into the tree.
That's one of my favorite things about him, is when they give him those little flashes of personality, when you can see how angry and fed up with things he is. Because one of my favorite moments I remember of him is when he's walking through Times Square. He just kicks the shit out of that jukebox, just keeps marching on.
And then
I love that.
And then of course the gang tries to mess with him, and he just lifts the thing, and they're like, "Yep."
See, I love the personality.
I will say Kane Hodder is my favorite Jason.
And I met him.
Yeah, I hate you.
I
hate you.
How was that?
He has a handshake like a vice grip.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I would love to meet you, Kane. I think a lot of the other Jasons were great, and I know that it could be a touchy subject with the fan base, because a lot of people are like, "Oh no, Kane isn't my favorite. This person is," and I get that. But Kane in Part 7, when he first came in with the new blood, like you got to see chains, and you got to see his back spines.
Dude,
like
he has such a
he
good
was metal,
physicality.
dude. Like Jason wasn't built like that before. Jason was just a big stocky dude with a machete.
That ending to New Blood,
So
freaking hate it.
Oh,
what you hate?
wait, what's the ending?
To New Blood, it's when the father comes up to drag Jason down.
Oh yeah, that's the one I hate.
No, it's like if it was like some decaying body just like Jason, I'd be fine with that.
But it looks like he just fell in yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like he fell in like 30 minutes ago.
I get you, man. I felt like I understood why they wanted to do that, but yeah, I think that you're right. They should have made him more decaying look, or a demon coming down to grab him or something. But Jason's great. I mean, he doesn't beat Freddy, and even though in Freddy vs. Jason,
no, Freddy wins that one.
Yeah, he winks his eye.
He does.
Yeah.
So what's your number 2?
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a lot of shit for
Here's
this.
your number 1. Or is your go ahead.
Jigsaw.
Okay.
Yep. I knew I was gonna get a lot of shit for this.
I think Jigsaw's
all I
fine.
said was okay.
No, listen. It was
Okay,
from Ron.
here's my thing. I like the Saw. I've only seen up to 3, the first 3. Part 1 and
Those are
part
the
2.
best 3.
Yeah, part 1 and part 2 I would say is the greatest. But my thing with Jigsaw was like he's I like the fact that he's technically not a killer.
Mm-hmm.
He just puts them in situations where they kill or whatever.
And that's gonna go into what I was gonna say.
So and I think that's entertaining, but go ahead, man.
My reasoning is because I was saying to Liam just a second ago that I really love character in these sorts of villains, and Jigsaw has a lot of psychology that you can go into. We were talking about that with Norman Bates, where he has a lot of things going on in his head. Jigsaw has an entire philosophy to life that like is very twisted and very dark, but it's very... you almost want to debate with him to like try to get him out, because you see like he's not completely insane. He came to this realization because of events that happened in his past, but like you said, he's not a killer. And in fact, in later movies, there are times where he's like called a killer and he gets furious at that notion. Like he finds killers despicable, and he like it's like, and I find that very compelling.
Hey, Jesse,
and
you want to play a game?
I want to play a game. And fucking
California tomorrow.
and see, that's just so memorable. The voice, the puppet, it's all wonderful. And
dude, I will say, for the people who haven't seen Saw, the surprise ending of the first
It's
one
Yeah.
so
good.
fucking
It's
good.
very
And
good.
that's the other thing I love about him. He wants everyone to win. He
Yeah.
desperately wants
He
you
gives-
to succeed in your game.
Well, he gives
and
you a
it's your
chance.
own fault. When
I don't
it's
know
not.
if he wants to succeed, but
No,
at the
no,
same
no.
time, I think he wants, like, he gives you an opportunity to succeed.
Okay,
wants you to learn
there are
the
some
lesson.
people he wants to succeed more than others. Like his
Because, like, in
spoilers,
part-
but his apprentices are the ones who he like deeply cares about and like wants them
Yeah.
to like move up and like.
which I kind of
like
like her.
I know. Amanda's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Like I was very close to saying Jigsaw and Amanda.
Yeah.
Because Amanda is an amazing character.
And dude,
like
when she
there's
came,
a lot written
like,
about her. Actually,
yeah, because well, in part 2, when we get introduced to Amanda,
Mhm.
like
we get introduced to her in 1, but in 2, yeah.
well, yeah. So, but in 2, like I didn't see it coming,
And
like,
I didn't
and
see that one.
I was like, holy shit!
And their dynamic together is it's almost like a father and daughter
Like,
like
when she got thrown
killer
into the,
team.
like she allowed herself to get thrown in those needles, and I was
She's
just
committed. Oh
like, you
God.
committed to the part, because I would be like, fuck no.
I'm gonna do what Haley did. I am gonna like retroactively go Jigsaw and Amanda because Amanda is such a like a good character and their dynamic together is like such a well thought out and layered thing that's just
Yeah.
super awesome.
Reunited never felt so good. Okay,
So, yeah,
okay. So your what was that, number 1, right?
that was my number 1.
What's your number 1?
Oh, my number 1 was Jason Voorhees.
Mine was Freddy, and
And mine was Freddy.
okay.
Nice.
So we made it through the first list.
Woo!
So let's see how we
like
do
this.
on the second list.
So what is
All
our
right.
second list?
Well, now since I get a pick, let's go ahead and do.
He's just using that as an excuse to look at my list.
No, I'm not
Okay.
looking at your things. Let's do top 5 vampires. Yeah,
Yay!
let's do vampires.
Okay.
Oh, sorry,
No,
but
Are we cutting it up or is
This
this just
is
gonna be a
not-
2-part?
we're just gonna have it all together in
Okay.
one episode. Like, yeah, we'll
What
just.
were you gonna say before that?
I was gonna say since you went first,
Uh-huh.
we're going to have Liam go first.
Oh,
so
hello.
what's your number 5 on the vampire list?
All right, so I'm gonna pick a number 5 from the vampire list, and that will be Lost Boys.
Oh.
That's my number 1.
Lost Boys is my number
Thank
Way to
you,
take
thank
us
you.
out there.
Thanks for taking my thunder.
This was your idea, man.
right.
That's my number 3.
Okay, so
Oh, really?
Lost.
Is it on your list, Jesse?
Nope.
Cool.
I don't like you. Okay, I will say
I mean, I
this.
love it, but there's a lot of
I-
good vampire movies, dude.
This vampire movie was like when I was younger. It was introduced to me by a friend, and I absolutely loved it. It was a movie that I watched probably a billion times. It has 80s nostalgia. I mean the Haim brother, or was it Corey's? The Coreys are in it, so it was great, and the soundtrack is great.
I love the
I love the soundtrack. Literally, there's nothing. I mean, even Kiefer Sutherland's in it, and he was great. We got Bill from Bill and Ted as a vampire. I mean, it was the greatest shit ever. Yeah. So why did you pick at 5, fucker?
Why did I pick a 5? I don't know, because like when I think about the other movies I like, I'm like, oh, I like that one. Actually, it's a bit more in Lost Boys, but
see.
just like a dash.
And I think honestly the reason why it's so high up on my list is for the simple fact that it was like one of the more risque movies that I watched, you know, and it was great. Like it honestly, like I wouldn't say it was the one that turned me on to horror, but it was pretty close.
It was
yeah.
definitely
So,
a stepping stone.
yes,
For
definitely.
those of you who do not know, I'm not crazy about vampire movies. It's not that I'm like anti-vampire movies. It's
She's
just that
anti.
no,
No!
I'm not even into werewolf
okay.
movies that much either.
Hey,
I just
should I have them? Should you tell them your little blowjob?
Oh yeah.
Jesse
No,
has a
no, okay,
story.
wait, wait.
Jesse has
Okay,
Have I
wait.
told you that story?
No, we're gonna before you tell the story. Go ahead and finish your thought. Sorry.
I'm just not crazy about them. But I did really like the Lost Boys. I thought it was pretty good. So
Now you
that's all
gotta
I'm
tell.
saying.
Now you gotta tell
So I'll
your.
cut this out, but save it for another episode. Maybe we'll see how it goes. But so we never told you this story. When I was like 19 and in college, me and my friends were wandering around being stupid, and I just had we were talking, and I had a stupid thought, as people are wont to do, and I was just like, Hey, how do vampires give blowjobs if they don't have any breath?
Yeah, you did say this.
Yeah. And then everyone looked at me. They were just like, "Is he joking? Does Jesse?" And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "What do you think a blowjob is?" And I was like, "You blow." Yep.
I love this.
That's so
It's the
funny.
best
like a balloon.
ever.
I was but a child.
It's but the
That's so funny. That's great.
So, okay, so
Yeah, we're cutting that.
no, don't cut that.
we're leaving that
Leave that in.
I am the editor. I have the power.
Don't cut it out. Okay, so my number 5 is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That was on.
That's the Gary Oldman one.
Yeah,
Okay, just
the
checking.
92.
Yeah.
I like
Gary Oldman.
I like this one.
There's
There's
the other guy from Bill and Ted.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes. Boom.
Yeah, see?
Whoa.
Whoa. Okay,
This is gonna scare me.
Okay, but this one had like Winona Ryder and it had Keanu Reeves, and I like this one mainly because one of the very first books I've ever read was Bram Stoker's Dracula, like a thick book anyway. I mean, I've read Goosebumps and stuff before, but
And of all the hundreds of adaptations
Yeah.
of Dracula, this one somehow is the closest.
yes,
to
and
the
it
book.
really is. It truly is, and I think that they were trying for that time, and I don't know.
They do a few weird things to Lucy, but we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll fight about that. But fair to say that's why I put it at 5. I have so many vampire movies. Like, I do love vampires, not the Twilight shit, but like
I was gonna say, if this was the top 30,
Yeah.
I would probably be able to do that.
yeah, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. And I'm not saying that Twilights were like terrible, but it wasn't. Not my vampires. My vampires don't sparkle in the fucking sunlight. Sorry. All right, on to your number 5.
My number 5 is Let the Right One In.
That's my honorable mention.
That's my number 1.
It's so good.
Wait, no, that's my number 2. I was wrong.
Yeah, it's just,
Damn you!
it's such a great movie, and I
really
remember
is.
the first time I watched it. It's the pool scene. I'm not gonna
Oh,
go
the
in,
pool scene.
but the pool scene is what really I was like, okay, yeah, this and the fact that it's just
that was such a good.
it's
part.
so good, and like the fact that it's in a viewpoint of children too, like
It makes it so much more disturbing.
Yeah.
Because it's just like,
Yeah.
they're still, like, it's very clear that she's still a kid.
Yes.
In ways that, like, usually vampires aren't, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, this movie is great, and I
The friendship
like it.
is great. The way they do vampires is great. The way they do thralls, kind of,
Mhm.
is pretty cool.
My thing is, I do love this movie, and I wanted to put it as my list. Like, it's just one of those ones that I had to cut. But one of the reasons the only thing I find a little bit annoying is the boy. Like, I feel like
So damn Swedish.
that he just feels detached sometimes.
That's
like,
that's the point, and I like that.
Well,
about it.
I like it was like, you could have told him like his mother just died, and he's just like, okay.
I enjoy that about the movie because
Yeah.
it's almost like he's just as messed up as she is in a weird way, and that's what attracts him.
But
to
then,
her, her to him.
But then, like, I'm sorry about the spoilers, guys. But like the part where like he goes over there and she's trying to give him money and stuff, and she's like, "Where did you get all this stuff? It's from dead people." And then now he has some sort of emotion, like, I'm not going to take this stuff, and I'm not even sure how.
I
Our
don't
friendship...
remember that part.
You
so
don't
I'll have
remember
to
that?
get back to it.
Okay. Don't worry about it. I was just gonna say the boy's a little awkward to me, and
Yeah.
that kind of threw me. Like, it didn't throw me enough to not ever watch this movie again. I love this movie. It's definitely a high rating and must see. So,
Am I in
yep,
5?
you're on number 5.
Okay, What We Do in the Shadows.
Damn it,
That's
Oh.
that's on my comedy list. I had to cut it from this one.
That's
That
It's
is
a
my
great-
number
yes.
2.
that's actually my number 1.
Yes.
So good.
I love what we do.
So
in the
good.
It's like here's the thing. I don't really go in for comedy movies that often. This one is the first one in a long time that I've just fucking loved everything about. Like, it had me laughing the entire time.
Yes.
Like, fucking, let me do my dark bidding on the internet.
What are you betting on?
Oh, this mahogany tin.
The point is, Deacon, you haven't done the dishes in 5 years.
Yeah.
And to kind of give the listeners out there, if you guys haven't watched this movie, take The Real World, the show on MTV, and put it with vampires.
That's what it's like
literally
these grand creatures of the night, and they're such fucking losers, all of them together.
Oh,
And
it
it's
is
just
so great.
And I love one of the guys is also from Flight of the Conchords.
Mhm.
No, two of them. My
Oh, yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to see them in this movie.
I could be wrong about this, but I think one of the main actors, the main guy, and the What We Do in the Shadows, is on the new Sabrina.
Uh-huh.
So
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
No, one of the guys, I forget the vampire's name. He's the director for Thor Ragnarok. And
Taika Waititi.
yes.
Okay.
And if you're a fan of that humor, this movie's also really good.
And another great thing about this movie for vampire lovers is you get a bit of every vampire. You get your Nosferatus, you get your Draculas, you get your pretty boy interview with the vampires. It's just like it runs
Yeah,
the
you
gamut.
get a good variety. And the reason why it's so like far up my list is because you can put this movie on anytime and I will always enjoy it.
Hell yeah.
Always enjoy it.
I will look at
yeah.
you crazy if you turned it.
Yeah, like it's great. And I just recently showed my dad this movie and he cracked up the entire time. And it made me so happy that he loved it so much.
Yeah, it really is good, and it's in the process of making its TV show.
Werewolves?
No, that's the movie, but they're talking about a TV show.
I'm excited for both.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, dude.
I actually heard through the grapevine of actors who are auditioning for the roles.
I just saw like a preview for it on TV.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know
They
if
already
I don't
pushed
know
it?
if I was on HBO
they could
or
have
something.
already pushed it. I don't know yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's HBO.
Because
It's definitely
I was
known.
watching something like Showtime or HBO or something like that, and then
Same.
But anyways, What We Do in the Shadows is amazing. If you haven't seen it, please watch it.
Yeah. Okay. So number 4,
For Liam.
Liam.
Oh, number 4, it's Fright Night.
That's my number 2.
My number 1.
God dang it.
Hey Jesse, payback's a bitch.
Okay. I will say for Fright Night, it's a very hard. Like honestly, if I could put 2 number 1s, it would be Lost Boys of Fright Night. I hate putting Fright Night as number 2 because it's that good. It's anybody who says they don't like vampire movies, anybody who says they love vampire movies. This is the movie I tell them they have to watch. So,
Fright Night's insanely good too. Like, of course, I'm talking about the original one.
yeah.
Oh, fuck
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I forgot to say that. Yeah, that it was remade.
Just
And
assume we're talking about the originals
Just
like all the
assume
time.
we're talking
I will
about it.
say the new one, it wasn't terrible, but it
No.
wasn't the original.
Right.
You're so
Dinner's-
cool, Brewster.
Dinner's in the oven. Oh, it's so quotable. And first of all, the practical effects are fucking awesome in this
Awesome,
movie.
dude.
They're
I
so
wish
good.
movies today would do what they did.
Like it looks great. Like man-bat form vampire at the end is just so cool, and like all this, like when they're all decaying, it's great. Like,
I
love it.
I really wish that directors or people who are filming stuff would go back to the basics on this. I'm tired of CGI in it. Like build your monsters. Come on.
And it's such a good idea to have the kid be like, "Oh, there's a vampire in my neighbor's house," and it's just like, "Oh, you're so wacky."
And it's like as soon as he learns about the rules of the vampire, the mom's like, "Guess who just moved into the neighborhood?" But like, I think one of the reasons that it's at number 4, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie.
I saw it like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And I just watched it for the first time.
I watched this when I was like freshman in high school or something like that, and I loved it.
Man. And it also has Amanda Bruce. She's Burse. She was on Married with Children. She was Darcy, the next door neighbor.
Oh yeah.
That was just a throw out because that was one of the actors I knew. Oh, and then also the vampire, the next door neighbor. I forgot his name. Jerry. Jerry.
Best name for a vampire.
Jerry, you may have seen him in another horror movie. He is the cop who kills Charles Lee Ray in Child's Play. He's the cop.
Oh, he is.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
One good thing about the Friday Night remake, it has one of my favorite lines. What kind of vampire name is Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry.
And it has David Tennant, so that's never a bad thing.
David Tennant with crabs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And leather pants.
Dude,
Leather pants.
You know what? When we were talking about the Lost Boys, we didn't even throw quotes out. Damn. It's like they're maggots, Michael.
It's holy water.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So where are we on? Number 4 still, right? Where am I at? Sorry. Oh, my number 4 from Dusk Till Dawn.
That's
My
my number 4.
Oh my god!
4's all around.
That's
Except for
actually
you.
my number 3.
Okay.
Whatever.
This movie is fucking awesome.
And Quentin Tarantino.
And it has my, honestly, like, I had that.
Doing a job at acting.
I will say,
Uh-huh.
has my dream girl in it too. Salma
Salma,
Hayek.
yeah.
I love her. I'm. She's so hot.
Is this before or after the plot twist?
Both.
Both. Let's do it. I'll take
best
it.
So can I just say, the thing I love about this movie is for the first half of it, it's a serious as fuck crime thriller
Yeah.
about like just fucking monstrous human
Yeah.
beings, and it's like there's not a hint of irony or humor in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then halfway through, vampires happen, and you're just like, oh my god, it's time to be wacky, and I just love it.
And I think it. Am I wrong about this? But at the time, wasn't this the first movie that used the F word like a record time? I want to say it was.
It could be.
I could be wrong. Don't listen to that.
It was the first movie to have a cock gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming.
Okay.
If it's not, I'm very surprised.
Oh shit! It's a great movie
with
the
Tom
vampires
Savini.
look so
Savini.
Like,
Yeah, I love. Yeah, I always think about Tom Savini because he's like poking his.
Yeah.
I'm a
he's moving
vampire.
His tongue and then he
Yeah,
goes,
it's like, oh.
This is another one where the practical effects are great because all the
Yes.
vampires have like awesome prosthetics. I mean,
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, Robert Rodriguez directed this.
he did.
Yeah, he was really good.
And-
He did a good job on this.
My
He
two
did.
best memories is Sydney actually showed me this movie because I remember one day when we first moved in together, we were just going through Netflix and that movie came up. I was like, I've never seen that before. And he looked at me and he was like, excuse me?
I
And
know
was
what
like,
we're doing tonight.
Yeah, and so he put it on right away. And I knew it was serious if he put the movie on right away. And the first surprise, I had no idea what that twist was going to happen. And so that was great. And then the second thing was, that was when I learned that Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish. And because I was really curious as to why the whole foot thing happened. I was like, I don't get it. And Sydney was like, you don't know? Everyone knows. And I was like, okay, I did not realize that. And so that kind of
I
weirded
didn't
me.
know that either.
Oh,
Okay,
go
well,
back and
something else.
watch
So-
Tarantino
Okay.
movies and notice
Yeah.
of all the shots
There's
about feet.
so many shots of like feet.
Oh, like
foot
wiggle your
stuff.
toe?
Yeah,
Oh shit!
yeah.
I just now thought of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
so Quentin,
or like the
so-
start of Pulp Fiction when they're arguing about massaging feet.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It's
and the
not the
thing,
same. It's just in the ballpark.
and no shame at all. I just have never really met too many like open people about being
fetish.
a foot. And like Quentin Tarantino, hey, kudos to you. You're like, I'm very open about my
it's
foot
a-
fetish, and you
it's a
put it in
thing.
all of your movies. So I know it's
It's
a
a
thing.
thing.
I
It's a
know
thing.
it's a thing, but like it just I didn't realize.
I like how this became the topic of conversation.
Just didn't
Fetishes.
realize.
All right,
Vampires.
Hey,
Actually, vampires
and guess,
and
and guess
fetishes
what
always
you got?
kind of hand in hand.
feet. Get,
Oh damn!
It's gonna be so loud on
I
the
know.
Oh,
but what
God.
I know. Don't slam. Okay.
I'm sorry. It was just a memory from the movie. I just had to mention it.
I will say one of the things that we forgot to mention is one of the biggest stars of the movie,
George Clooney.
George Clooney, the best Batman ever.
Oh my god.
Jokes.
I was about to say, you take those words back.
No,
He has
he's
one
the
of my
worst
favorite
Batman
lines where he's all like, "Now I don't want to hear. I don't believe in fucking vampires because I don't believe in fucking vampires, but I believe in what I see with my own eyes, and what I saw with my own eyes is fucking vampires."
See, fucking, fuck.
It's so good.
You know,
though.
I'm starting to believe you on that record break.
Yeah,
Because I was thinking about like that,
it's probably
that-
one of those
that
things
one
that
guy
got
like
buried.
talking about the truck stop.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one. I won't say it because my mom's listening to the podcast. Hi, mom.
Hi, mom.
Oh, we're super past that point.
Yeah, we're
talking about
super-
fetishes and fucking.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
You gotta have subjectivity before you jump across the line. Just
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry to all the mothers listening. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I'm the one
What?
that mentioned the foot
Hey,
fetish.
hey.
I think it's just mine.
guys, I will just say this. Sorry to say it, but you know, you guys are here for a reason.
Oh my god.
I don't
They had
get
to
it.
deal with the. Okay, never mind.
I'm confused. Do you get it? Okay.
I don't know what's happening.
Saying-
Oh,
They had to do that.
okay.
They had to do that for you guys to be here.
Oh!
Gosh, millennials. I'm just joking.
Why do we even have him?
No.
Okay,
so
my turn.
Wait, number 4. Yeah,
Mine was fucking
From Dusk Till Dawn. So we all went through it. So
3.
Number 3. Liam.
Yes.
Number
Number
3.
3.
Oh, well, that was actually Dusk Till Dawn.
Shit.
Oh shit!
What's
So
your
my
three?
number 3, Interview with the Vampire.
Okay.
I
this
love
movie.
I love this movie. I love the book. I like Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. So this movie was very close to Interview with the Vampire. Little tweaks here and there, but for the most part, it was really good.
It's in my honorable mentions.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's so
I
good.
need to.
I'm sorry, guys.
It's so good.
See, now this might be the reason why I don't like vampire movies because I just haven't seen.
It's Brad Pitt at his vampire
Yeah.
list.
And honestly, like
And Tom Cruise
yeah.
at his craziest.
yes,
You
and
had me at Tom
I
Cruise.
know.
and honestly, like in the book form, Lestat is always the main character, which is Tom Cruise's character.
He's
but
such a good character.
But you hate him in Interview with the Vampire because it's told by Louis, which is Brad Pitt's character. And so, like when you read the books, the Interview with the Vampire is the first one, and you go, hey, Louis is the greatest. Lestat's. I hate Lestat, whatever. But then by book 2, the Vampire Lestat, you get why you would love Lestat more than Louis, and Louis is just a whiny ass bitch. But it's
Get
a great.
over it, Louis.
But I will say it's a
We
great
have
movie.
parties to go to.
It's mainly like it's about it was about Lestat, who's lonely, makes Brad Pitt a vampire. They grow up. They pretty much
Life
rule
partners.
life partners going through and that is so true. Going through the worlds together. And then of course, they make a vampire child, which I won't say why she was created, but
I feel so sorry for her.
yeah. And Kirsten Dunst, one of the best. Like, I mean,
Was she super tiny?
She was super tiny, and she was a great actress. It's a must watch. You have to watch this.
I was trying to concentrate and keep along with what you got, but it's kind of
Yeah.
there's a lot of names
Okay.
going here and
you
there.
don't know who Kirsten Dunst is?
I'm terrible with actors.
Okay,
I'm literally
Mary Jane?
terrible.
Mary Jane from Spider-Man with Tobey.
Okay.
She was also.
No, I only knew Mary Jane. Sorry.
And then she's also in. Did you ever watch? I'm only gonna say this because you're a girl, and then you probably watch this. Bring It On, the first one.
I love
cheerleader?
Bring It On.
Yes!
So much.
No, listen.
I was a cheerleader.
Yeah, listen. So I love Eliza Dushku is in that.
God, I feel so judged right now.
Yeah, so she's the main cheerleader in that movie.
I wasn't judging. I was just laughing because it was like you started laughing, and then I was like, "Oh, hey, that's kind of funny."
Okay, so what's your number 3?
My number 3 was The Lost Boys. So, yeah.
Hey, that's my number 5.
Yeah, forget you. So your number 3?
My number 3 is Kronos. Have any of you seen it?
No.
I
Is that
figured
good?
as much. It's Guillermo del Toro, and
I know who that is.
Yep, it's a Spanish movie for the most part, except for Ron Perlman, who's speaking. Yeah, it's fine.
I might have to check this
You
out.
had me at Del Toro and Ron
I
Perlman.
know you need to see it. It's a fantastic movie.
Well, it made your list, so.
Yeah, no, it's about it's Guillermo del Toro. He'll make
And
my
it's
list
boring.
whenever he can. It's just I don't know. Again, it's a good character piece. You got the Guillermo del Toro trope of the monster isn't really the monster, but it's a man, and I know Sydney hates that, but in Guillermo del Toro's case, he makes it work, and it kind of shows vampirism as a really sucky thing. He's not a young, beautiful. He's just an old man, and he's getting older, and he's just bleh, and it's he's the main character.
Okay.
And yeah, it's about a man who finds this little Kronos device, which has a ancient alchemy stuff in it that makes him a vampire. It's fun stuff, and old crazy
I'm
man
gonna
is
have to
trying to
check
get
that
yep.
Another
Okay.
fucking foreign movie, too.
I know, but it's Del Toro.
Yeah,
Everyone
I hear
loves
you.
Del Toro.
Okay, so we're on to number 2, right?
Yes.
What's your number 2, sir?
Number 2 for me, and you guys can't judge me. Okay.
I'm judging.
All right.
what's
It's
up?
30 Days a Night.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's 30
It's
Days
okay.
a Night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I just watched
I,
that for the first time because you
I really love 30 Days a Night, and I can't pinpoint the exact reason why.
I will.
I like the comic more.
The movie feels like a comic too.
It does.
And that's like my favorite part.
I think what I love about just the movie, the idea is the fact that these vampires can roam 30 days and 30 nights. Like there's no we got to get out of the sun. We're fucking running this town.
And these vampires are more like for animals, like predators.
I always love
loose.
me a good monster vampire.
Yeah,
and these are like some really cool monster
I do
vampires.
like the human part of vampires sometimes, but yes, I do like the monster.
I love the claws and the eyes.
Yes.
And...
Yeah, I love the eyes and the teeth. The only problem I have is at the end when
Spoilers.
Okay, we'll talk about that some other time. I didn't like the ending too much.
I didn't either.
I didn't like the huge climactic ending.
To be all honest, that's where it would fall for me too.
Yeah, that's where the movie sucked, pun intended. But like it has one of the best representation of a thrall or like
thrall.
I've seen, where it's like the thrall's doing like everything to please his master.
And that's your number.
Like that.
That was your number 2.
Yeah, that was my number 2. Because number 1 was What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay, so we already went to that.
Because I always love a good time
Mm-hmm.
as much as like a good movie,
Mhm.
and it's like both of those for What We Do in the Shadows. So it's like
Okay, so number 2 for me, of course, was Friday Night. So we already talked about that.
Mine was What We Do in the Shadow.
And
Mine was Let the Right One In.
okay, so number 1, Liam. What was your number 1?
I already told you it's What We Do in the Shadows.
That's right. Oh my god, Lost Boys.
Mine was Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Okay, let's.
The
talk.
OG
It
vampire.
is.
Yeah, and that's why I did that, because it was first the very, very first silent film I ever saw, and it was really the one that was like, oh, silent films are not boring, because I was so young that I had that like mindset that I was like, oh, I could never like a silent film, it's so boring and everything, and I watched and I was like, this is not boring at all, and I was really into it, and so now it kind of like, I guess it kind of matured me in a way, you know what I mean? Like you see that one movie, it just kind of changes everything, like your perspective of one whole. I don't know, it just changed my perspective, and that's why it's number 1, because
Nosferatu is also pretty much a rip off of the story of Dracula, but it was a great movie. I love Nosferatu. It's definitely one I will like always cherish, so it does get an honorable mention for me.
And it's so creepy too.
It is
Like,
creepy.
it's so creepy.
There's no image in probably all of horror that's more iconic than the shadow going up the stairs.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for the people that haven't seen this movie, it's free. It's on YouTube. Like, I mean, yeah, if you really enjoy this movie and you've seen it like 1,000 times, yes, own it. But at the same time, it's free. It's on everything.
It's a legend for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you go to Walmart and if you buy like some like 6 movie bundle for like less than $5, you get it. Like I bought myself one of those $6 movie stuff.
20 movies for $6.
Because they were like old black and white films, and one of them I used to watch on Mystery Science Theater that it scared me as a kid, and I was like, I want to get that, and it came with like Nosferatu and Night of the Living Dead, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll it's a win-win in my book.
And what I will say is to our audience and to the generation of now, watch these movies. Don't let them die, because like a lot of those movies back in the day are better. Like they're great stories. They're great. Go ahead.
Fun fact: Nosferatu almost did die because of what Ron said, how it was kind of a ripoff of Dracula.
Yeah,
that was very known, especially by Bram Stoker's wife at the time, who was the head of his estate, and because of rights and how they worked at the time, they almost destroyed every single copy of the movie. And it's only by chance that like some theater just happened to like not get the order in time, or it like got lost in the paperwork, so they just happened to keep it. And
thank you.
We were very close to losing like the first horror icon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh
crazy.
man, that would have been sad.
Yep.
And I like that little tidbit that you had there.
Yep.
So this is definitely our first episode. Wait, Ju, what's your number 1?
Friday Night.
The only thing that I did mention was one of my honorable mentions was
let's
the
just
Hamiltons. was the Hamiltons, because that was the first vampire movie that I ever watched, and so I just thought that should be an honorable mention. Movie quality wise, I don't think it's the best, but it was the first vampire movie I ever watched, and I didn't expect that because I'd never seen a vampire movie. So I mean, it's kind of one of those like lesser known ones. A lot of people don't talk about it. I don't even know if it's really that like worth talking about, but it just has a special place for me because it was the first one.
I like that one. It was pretty good. And I will say honorable mention for me. I have two really. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's more of a comedy, but it was the birth of what Joss was going to make into the TV show, and I absolutely love the TV show so much that I even named my son Xander after one of the characters. Yeah, I love Buffy. No show will ever beat it. I don't care what you bring to the table.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. So, and then my second honorable mention that I would throw out there is John Carpenter's Vampires. A lot of people love
that one.
Yeah, it has I think Bon Jovi's in it.
Uh-huh.
I will say this is one that I watched a bunch of times because it was on Stars, and Stars kept spitting it out, and I loved it.
Some of my honorable mentions are the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi, which is just super.
That is so good,
super iconic.
You gotta watch out for saying original.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah,
it's the one that everyone thinks about.
Yeah,
when they think of Dracula.
Yes.
And
I even like the Christopher one. What is it? The Count Dooku.
What is Christopher Lee?
Thank you, Christopher Lee. I want to say
one.
Lloyd,
those
but
are
it was
really
late.
good because that's got like Peter Cushing as
Yeah.
Van Helsing, and it's great. And
Yes.
my other honorable mention was Near Dark, which is a movie
yes.
Catherine Bigelow directed with Lance Henriksen.
This is
in
why
it.
you don't make a list so quick.
Wasn't that movie awesome? That movie was
Yes.
great.
I have not seen that.
It has
So
what's his name?
interesting.
What?
They were making that movie the same, or like roughly around the same time they
Bill
were making
Pullman's in
Alien.
Uh-huh.
Or Aliens, my
Yes.
bad. So
You don't know
that's
who
how
Bill
they got
Pullman
a lot of
is?
the same
I can't put a face to any of these names.
It's Bill Pullman, right?
Who?
Am I saying this right?
Yeah.
She's like, Bill Pullman. He's Twister, the guy on Twister, the main. Oh God.
I watched
talking about-
Twister, but I
talking
can't.
about
I
Bill
still can't
Paxton?
picture his face in my mind.
Bill Paxton. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton.
Bill Pullman is independent.
Guys,
I was gonna say.
it's a curse.
Paxton.
I know nothing about actors, and I'm
my
not
bad.
done. I'm not trying. It's just I'm terrible.
Wait, so you don't know Game Over, man? Game Over? Aliens?
Well, like,
Aliens.
yeah, I know aliens, but like,
It's
okay.
lasted longer than we have. Well, great for her in church.
No, but okay. So this was our first episode, and we're now about at the hour mark. So, wow, we only went through 2 lists. So
I told you.
No, but it was definitely
No,
just
yeah, I
it was
love
it was a test run, and I hope you guys like this. I hope we didn't spoil too much for you.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah, so
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
do-
I love
This is a
fun.
lot. This is a lot. Of fun.
yeah, so we'll definitely do more of these lists. We'll call them like mini episodes, and it's the Insanity Corner. So thanks for listening, and
Have a good night.
yeah,
You guys have a great night.
Bye.
bye.